everyone who's watching this is gonna win.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the CelloKoko channel. Look who is back! Kevin Lee!
Hi!
And Jacob Joyce!
Hi.
I'm so excited because we haven't seen each other.
Long time. At least
actually,
a year.
In July, right?
Almost a year, yeah. So today we are going to talk about how to win an audition, how to win a competition, and anything you might encounter in the classical music world. Jacob will bring the conductor's perspective of it. CelloKoko, obviously very famous for her cello playing, and I will do my best to give you the violin perspective of things.
Woo!
Are you famous for your cello playing?
我今年2025年8月在台湾有3场独奏会，非常期待看到大家，一定要来跟我说嗨哦。
We know you are.
Famous
By
for
far
my
the most famous of the
napping
three of us.
skill, maybe.
Your napping
That's it.
skills
Yeah.
are legendary.
Yeah.
Is that part of your pre-audition routine?
Yeah, for
Nap.
sure. I have to
You
take a
have
nap.
to lower your heart rate.
Yeah.
And naps are good for that.
So first we're gonna talk about what people are looking for.
Well, from the conductor perspective, and I think, you know, on almost every competition, jury, certainly orchestral audition, panel, and a lot of school auditions, there's some form of conductor, or at least people who have played in a lot of orchestra before. I can say the more boring one, but I think it's really important that you play excellent rhythm, excellent intonation, excellent sound quality, all of those things. Really observe what's on the page. Also, the biggest mistake that I think a lot of people make is, which I made a lot when I was playing violin, is not really knowing the piece that they're playing. So if you play in an orchestral audition an excerpt, it's very easy to tell from behind the screen if the person knows that piece and how it goes, or if they don't. And I remember when I was learning excerpts, you have one line of music, you practice that, you get to know just your part, but you might not really be hearing the other stuff that's going on, and you think that's not valuable, but that's super valuable. And if you're not hearing that, people can hear that on the other side of the screen and they will cut you right away.
Right.
If they can tell that you don't know the piece well. So you have to listen to the piece. What are you listening for if you're listening on a panel?
I know a lot of people would say like steady rhythm, but I think that's not totally true, because if you play like a metronome, that would sound very robotic. Consider the rhythm with the musical ideas,
very
so
good.
that like lines up with what you want to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Expert level advice.
that's good. Because I said steady rhythm, so you said don't play with
Steady in the context.
No, I 100% agree with what you said. It's if you play like a metronome, that you can't do
It's
that.
boring, yes.
Yeah.
But there's steady and there's metronomic, and they're two very different things.
Musically steady.
Yeah.
But oftentimes I feel like we can tell like in 10 seconds whether to pass these people like
Yes.
into the next round or not. So the first impression is really important, that you have good sound and good rhythm, good intonation, sound like you are very convincing and confident.
So the takeaway from that is, if you're a violinist, don't play Lalo Symphony Espanol,
Yes.
because you're gonna play it out of tune.
Or
and
Beethoven
you'll be
Concerto. Do not do Beethoven Concerto.
cut. If you're a cellist, don't play Schumann. You're probably gonna play the first 3 notes out of tune, and then
Or
you'll be
Mozart
cut.
5 is also, yeah.
No,
But-
Mozart 4.
But there are a lot of requirements that, you know.
That's fine. That's
Oh,
fine.
okay, well,
Mozart 4.
Jacob's
I
got
can
really
play
good
that pretty
intonation.
easily in tune. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but the first impression is really important, that we feel your natural musical ideas and the confidence from
Yeah, so don't be nervous, because if you blow it in the first 5 seconds, you're probably gonna be cut.
You're gonna have to dig yourself out of that hole.
I think the preparation is really important. Before you play, you really have to practice what you are thinking.
Atomic Habits.
Yeah, okay.
Should we talk a little bit about Atomic Habits?
Is that a book that you've been reading?
That's a book that Ko has read.
Really?
Yeah.
Inner Game of Tennis?
Oh, that's a
Oh,
great book.
That
yeah.
one is awesome.
Every
That's
single
so
person
fun.
should read The Inner Game of Tennis.
Yes.
Inner Game of Tennis is like the single best book, I
I think
for
most of us
practicing.
have read it, yes.
Kevin, what are you listening for?
What is most important, obviously, intonation, rhythm, pulse, but also just a sense of calm, I think. For what's very important to me is that whoever I'm working with has a sense that they are calm and they can be flexible to whatever approaches them. So in case the conductor suddenly has this grand idea during the concert and they want to take things suddenly much faster or much slower, I want whoever I'm sitting with to be flexible but also calm enough to adjust at any given moment. And that's, you know, part of the great things of of live performance. Things can change at any time. But I think what really distinguishes a really good musician and collaborator is if they are able to be very flexible on the fly. It's harder to determine an audition, but usually 9 times out of 10, if they're able to control their emotions and they are very calm, they're usually able to do this.
Flexible and reliable.
Flexible is usually reliable.
Yes, right.
I think that's probably the number one takeaway. My feeling, I don't know if you guys agree, but people do way too much physical practice and
Yes.
not nearly enough mental
practice. So important.
So take an ice bath every day.
Yeah.
Go to the sauna like 3-4 times a week. Should be meditating like 45 minutes a day minimum.
Yeah. Do at least 30 miles a week.
Yeah.
Run it out of your system.
No, but I will say, jokes aside, I actually think what you were saying, this would be maybe my number one tip. One thing I've done for conducting auditions, because conducting auditions, or just every time you get up in front of an orchestra is an audition, basically.
Yeah.
And there is no way that you can predict what will happen. There's 80 people, something will happen. Someone's gonna look a certain way, someone's gonna ask a question that you couldn't possibly have anticipated, something's gonna go wrong that you couldn't possibly have anticipated. And so what's helped me is to visualize, like actually go through mental repetitions of, okay, here's a crazy scenario that I could never imagine. I'm just gonna play through that in my mind. Then I'm gonna do some other crazy scenario. Then I'm gonna do some other crazy scenario. So there's no scenario that I could encounter that I didn't feel like I'm semi-prepared for this because I just prepped mentally. If you go play a competition, an audition, the number of people who say, oh, it was colder in the room than I anticipated.
Yeah.
Oh, someone was talking.
Yeah, variables always change.
Oh, someone coughed in this spot. Like, you should practice. This is valuable practice. Go sprint a mile and then come with your heart rate at 200 beats per minute and try to play. Run your hands under freezing cold water and try to play.
Yes.
Like,
That
if
one
you
I've done
can do
before.
that kind of stuff, then you can do anything. And either you're gonna win, or you're gonna be the person who says it was too cold in the room.
Yeah.
So everyone who's watching this is gonna win. So practice it.
And everyone says this, right? It's like you have to take 30, 40, 50 auditions in order to win one. But like what you have to think about what it is that what sort of knowledge you're getting from the 30, 40, 50 is you are running through every single scenario that could possibly happen.
Right.
So if you are mentally prepared for all these different things happening at once, maybe you don't need to do 30, 40,
Yeah.
50.
Right.
You're learning it much quicker.
In conducting, I think it's the same for concert mastering, probably. Conducting, you get a maximum of 4 total opportunities of 10 minutes in front of a professional orchestra. If you've missed those, you've probably missed the boat entirely. So you have to take your first audition and learn an enormous amount from that, so that your second audition, you're 200 times better than you were. You don't have this luxury of, let me try every competition. If you don't win the first 10, that's fine. But people should be doing, it shouldn't just be like, I just do these, taking a total crapshoot, whatever happens. You should be aiming to win. And you can't control everything. You're not gonna win everything. But when you don't, you learn something very valuable from that experience. Not just like, that was terrible, on to the next one.
To add to that, I think another thing that's super important from a conductor's perspective, because I've spent some time with them, let's say you are an up-and-coming soloist or someone who's looking to work with an orchestra. If you come in and you play with such virtuosity and you play exactly the way you want to do it, but it is in a way where it's not physically possible to play with an orchestra, that is super scary for the conductor and also for a concertmaster, because obviously we want to do the best for you, we want to be able to accompany you. But if you're taking crazy tempos and crazy rubatos and doing crazy things where there's no way a 100-person orchestra can follow you, that's very hard to give you a high score or high mark or even want to work with you, because it's just not physically and logically feasible.
I think people make that mistake a lot, and I think in competitions, it's really important. In auditions when you play a concerto, in school auditions when you play a concerto. People always say you should really know the score well, but I don't always know that people fully understand what that means.
Sure.
You have to look at the orchestra part so closely that you know the spots. If the orchestra is playing a very consistent, steady, fast rhythm, that's not a spot as a soloist where you can take a bunch of time.
Right.
Yes.
If everyone's holding a whole note, you can do whatever you want.
Right.
And I think for players, it often feels like, okay, why do all these concertos that people play sound almost exactly the same? I need to be musical, I need to show my own ideas, which there's plenty of space to do that. But if you do that in the wrong spots where it's not possible, you're just going to be in
you have
trouble.
to know what the
immediately.
limitations are.
So you can listen to other people, but you shouldn't try to replicate them. You should try to have your own ideas, but you should look at the orchestra part really closely and know this spot, if I rush even 2 metronome clicks, everyone will hear that and be like, this person doesn't know what's going on, they can't. I have to be steady here, and here I can take a ton of time.
It's very different from like playing with the piano and then
Very
the orchestra.
different.
Very different. And people don't get that experience that
Right.
often. And so you have to train it yourself. You just have to practice. And really, I think it helps to practice with the metronome.
Sure. Or play in an orchestra. Like if you have a lot of experience accompanying soloists, you will know what you can or cannot do by sitting in the orchestra.
So I'm gonna play 2 versions of Beethoven 5, second movement, and one is gonna be metronomic, and
Yep.
one with the musical idea, and see which one you guys like the most.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the metronomic
Maybe.
one.
Maybe. Then we'll learn something.
Maybe both would be perfect.
Yeah.
Comment below which one you like the most. This is not my cello, so I have to.
Here's
Okay.
version 1. Let's hear it.
Okay, this is the first.
Power of no.
That was pretty in
I think
tune.
that's very
Pretty in
tuned.
tune.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Save my reaction. I already know which one is which, but we'll see.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, number
Okay,
2.
number 2.
Number 2.
Obviously,
I like number 2.
Number 2. Good job!
Phrasing, yeah.
Good
everything,
job.
Yeah, good.
But I think maybe people can take from that when you have like dotted 8th, 16th or something like that, you have to play but you can't just sound like that. You have to have nice release, and like you didn't play with a different rhythm the second time,
Right.
but it was shaped differently.
Not each note is equally important. What?
That's a good tip.
Not all notes are created equal.
Yeah.
Do 3 versions of Scheherazade. Metronomic version,
Uh-huh.
musical version, too much time version.
That's 1.
Okay. Okay. the order that I told you.
I think so.
But I thought all those are great.
They sounded good.
Yeah.
Third one is way too over.
Yeah,
Way too much, yeah. Okay, thank God. I was
And
like,
ridiculous bowing
Yeah.
also.
yes. I needed more room.
But the second one was good.
Yeah.
First one was also good. I mean,
Yeah.
Too straight.
maybe,
Too straight.
but maybe that's a good learning experience. If you
Right.
want to err on one side, err on
Yeah.
the side of being more metronomic. So the other thing I think is really important, especially for competitions or auditions, like school auditions where you need stuff memorized, people often really struggle with memorization. They're thinking about that when they're playing, which is, you can't be doing that. Like, you need to just have the piece memorized so you don't even have to think about it. To practice that, I think, is to start at random spots in the piece. Don't just start at the beginning. People can usually play something if they start at the beginning from memory, but you notice when someone has a memory slip, they stop and then they can't get back on because they can't start there.
Yeah.
So you can just like take your finger, point to a random spot and start, or you can listen and just start at a random spot in a concerto and see if you can play from there.
Right.
So I'm gonna give you guys a couple concertos. I'm gonna play 1 second of a couple concertos for you and you need to tell me what concerto it is.
Okay.
Who's going first?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tchaikovsky.
Oh, good. You know it's Tchaikovsky, but here you have to play this. Good, very good. All right, next
Very
one.
out of tune,
A
sorry.
little bit harder.
No, that's Barber.
Play. Was that the spot? Hold on. Yeah, you're right. Good. Very good.
Yeah.
Ah, nice.
Oh, nice.
Okay, last one. Hard version.
I probably didn't play this concerto.
We'll see. Hold on. Okay, very good. If you can name that concerto. No! Is it? Yeah.
Yes!
When did you play that? Like 6th
That's
grade?
literally the first concerto I played.
Yeah. Alright. Alright, do you have your
Nice.
instrument? Yeah.
What is it?
Elgar.
Just
Yeah.
checking.
Okay, very good. Very good. Little harder.
Same song.
Good. Very nice.
Alright, that's it for today. Thank you guys for coming again, and I hope you guys find it helpful.
Please like, subscribe, and comment below. But if this video gets over 1 million views,
We'll all go to Taiwan.
we will all go to Taiwan.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do Brahms double.
We'll do Brahms double in Taiwan. 1
Yeah.
million
1
views. We will make sure Jacob gets the full Taiwanese experience.
So I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. We lost Kevin.
Sorry.
You should
I
just disappear from the last question.